Wisconsin basketball team is on a roll after taking care of Rutgers over the weekend. They've won 4 straight, including handing number 2 Michigan its first loss of the season in Ann Arbor. The big key during the stretch has been their three-point shooting. They've topped 40% in the last 3 games, something that had happened 3 times total in the first 15 games of the season. Coach Greg Gard says the up-and-down nature of the team is just how things go.
That's the ebbs and flows, and you try not to let your motivational barometer be tied to whether you make shots or not. You got to find other ways to impact and win games. But then when you get shots to go in, you look like a much better team doing the exact same stuff you were doing when you were missing all those shots.
Wisconsin now 5-2 in Big Ten play, leaves them 6th in the 18-team conference. That's a game back of 3rd place, 2 games back of conference leaders Nebraska and Purdue. Wisconsin will head to Penn State on Thursday. The Nittany Lions 0-7 in the Big Ten. Turning to the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, an all-star starter once again. That was announced earlier today. It's going to be his 10th all-star appearance.
Every child deserves a fair shot at a bright future. That's why Save the Children Head Start administers Head Start programs in rural America. We leveled the playing field early, helping children start school strong, stay strong, and unlock their full potential. Because education is the best path out of poverty. Learn more at savethechildren.org/Head Start.
Well, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley is the front runner for the Dolphins coaching vacancy. That's what reports say today. He's interviewed twice. Longtime Packers personnel man John Eric Sullivan hired as the team's GM last week. And the Badgers up to 32 additions from the transfer portal, with the latest being Division II offensive lineman Styles Blackman. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Command in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space. In all kinds of trouble, put it up for grabs in the end zone. He got it! For the touchdown! They've done it again! 48 deep drop. Williams got time. Shot downfield in trouble. Is intercepted by Ken Curl. Davis from 42 online, and it's good. And the Los Angeles Rams go to the championship game.
Honestly, I don't even want to talk about next year yet. There'll be a time and a place for it. We're still hurting. We had a great opportunity here this year to make a name for ourselves. Proud that we were able to get to this point. Disappointed that we fell short.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Had some sound from the Bears-Rams game yesterday, the big plays at the end, and then a comment from Ben Johnson, the postgame presser. Not trying to stick it to Bears fans who might be listening, although they're a rival, right? We cheer for our rivals to lose. It's just human nature. This is a little pathetic. Yesterday, Packers fans sitting at home cheering for our rival to lose. Yeah, it's pathetic and it sucks. Although, I won't really complain too much that the Packers weren't playing yesterday, because division round weekends it should be the best weekend of football every year. You've weeded out that first batch of weakling teams from Wild Card Weekend, and there's still 2 games both days. Like, you could say, well, the best teams play on Championship Sunday next weekend. Yeah, but then there's only 2 games. So, like, if one of the games is a bust, then maybe you only get one good game. The division round weekend, that's the best. And while I'm bummed the Packers aren't in it, a nice benefit, I guess a silver lining to that, a West Bend the silver lining to that, is I didn't have to stress about my team. And there were some awesome games. And last night, as I'm getting ready to go to bed, I'm like, man, how do we as sports fans exist when football is not on? This show's every day, year round. And in the summer, we talk baseball. And, moving forward, once we get past the Super Bowl, we'll talk Bucks, we'll talk Badgers basketball, we'll get into the Brewers, we'll do draft. We find things to talk about. It's the nature of talk shows like this. But, man, there really is nothing like the NFL. And, again, bummed the Packers aren't in it. But a nice silver lining yesterday is I could just kind of watch stress-free. And even the games that weren't as close, like Seattle beat the brakes off of the Niners, but just watching Seattle do their thing and being impressed by what they've built, that's a satisfying viewing experience to me, gives us good talking points. And the first game yesterday, while not close at the end, interesting. Out in the elements, great theater in Foxborough at Gillette. Drake May in his second ever playoff game made some big plays, made some mistakes. A little sloppy, some great plays too. An exemplary weekend of football, start to finish. So we're going to react to all the games tonight and draw some parallels and some connections to the Packers. I think that's the gist of tonight's show is we'll react to the games, hit some of the big stories. McDermott was fired, the Bills coach, earlier today. So we'll talk about all that and try to talk, back in circles to the Packers and connect what we watched this weekend and some of the big stories outside of Green Bay and make some connections with what's going on up in Green Bay with the Packers. So that's my idea for the show tonight. I think it'll be very fun. I've been looking forward to this all day, sitting here waiting for 4 o'clock. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. I hope you had a great weekend. I am on Twitter if you'd like to follow me at Wisco Grant. You can live stream and listen to the show always. If you're not near a radio, the Wisco Sports Zone app is the slickest way to consume all of our shows. I do have a YouTube channel as well, the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills, the Facebook page. So lots of ways to watch and listen. And after our first break, we'll take lots of your phone calls throughout tonight's show as well. 608-321-1670. You can text that number too. Lots of ways to interact with the show. So I told you a week ago tonight, about a week ago at this exact time, as we were reacting to Packers Bears, I told you that I was over the Packers loss. And I tried to make this clear at the time, although maybe it's hard to believe it. It is true. No denial. I was 100% over that Packers loss. I was over that Packers loss Sunday morning. Monday afternoon, I moved on. Like, let's talk Badgers hoops this week. Let's get into other things because that team, they can only blow so many games and lose so many games like that before. You guys, I'm just going to become a little numb to it. Like, I'm going to stop getting mad. If you're going to keep doing it, I'm going to stop getting mad about it. So I was over this game and this Packers loss to the Bears a week ago. 100% honest, no denial. And I'm still over it, but I do get a little annoyed, now watching the teams that remain and watching the games in the following weekends. And this is a very normal phenomenon every year. If your team loses in the playoffs, it's very natural then to watch the games the following weekend and be like, oh, my team could do better than this, or my quarterback could do better than this, or my coach. You know what I mean? Like it's a very spiteful thing, but it's a very normal phenomenon. I remember when the Packers lost to the Niners in 2021. So they had the first round bye and then they lost at Lambeau, the punt block and the Mercedes Lewis, that debacle. I thought I was over that game relatively quickly. I'm like, special teams, again, like this year, you can only lose so many games the same way before I just stop getting angry. But then I watch next week. And it's like, oh, the Rams, this is the team you had to get by. This was the team. Matthew Stafford and the Elements, they could have won that. So a lot of times you'll get like aftershock. You'll get residual frustration. And I got a little bit of that this weekend. First, I was really underwhelmed with all the quarterback play this weekend. I should say I was very underwhelmed with the quarterback play this weekend on balance. So big picture, if we're looking at the entire body of work of all of the quarterbacks this weekend, I was disappointed. Doesn't mean there weren't great moments and great throws. You heard one, Caleb Williams, that throw was ridiculous. Maybe one of the most impressive plays of the entire season, let alone of the weekend. So there were great moments. There were great plays. But on balance, other than maybe Bo Nix, there wasn't one great wall-to-wall quarterback performance this weekend where a quarterback grabbed the game by the horns, led his team wire to wire, no mistakes, right? Just commanding performance. There wasn't really any of that except for maybe Bo Nix. And now, of course, he's hurt. So I watched all these quarterbacks play this week, and I'm like, oh, Jordan Love was better than this last weekend. Not to say that Jordan Love, couldn't have done better in Denver or in Foxborough or wherever. It's just hard for me to watch some of these quarterbacks. Drake May fumbling the ball, throwing picks. Caleb Williams had 3 picks. Josh Allen turned the ball over a bunch. It was a little frustrating to watch because Jordan Love played pretty darn good last weekend. I'm like, my quarterback better than these Jamokes in the way that they're playing. And Love wasn't perfect in Chicago last weekend, but he was a lot closer to perfect last weekend than any of these guys were this last weekend. Put it this way. If Jordan Love turned in a performance like Josh Allen had on Saturday or like Caleb Williams had last night, we would be in for a fascinating week of sports talk radio in the state of Wisconsin. I don't know what people would be saying on Get Up and, national shows, but locally, because I know the types of calls that we would get. I would come on here and say, well, Jordan Love made a lot of big throws, made the big throw to force overtime, but then, made the mistake in overtime. And we'd get a bunch of calls saying, I don't care that Jordan Love had the 4th down heave. That was a prayer ball. He turned the ball over 3 times, couldn't get it done in the red zone, blah, blah, blah. Or Josh Allen, right? If Jordan Love turned in a performance like that with a couple of interceptions and that fumble before, people would be barbecuing him. And maybe that just says a little bit about Packers fans and what we've come to expect from our quarterbacks and the standard of play that we have. Like, yeah, that's part of it. But that's what I was thinking about last night, getting ready for bed and coming in today. It's like, man, if Jordan Love had turned in a performance like Josh Allen or Caleb Williams in a losing effort, and both of those teams lost, like Packers fans would want him out of town. And then, of course, I follow along with what they're saying in Chicago today. It's for the most part celebratory. They're not too upset about the game not ending a certain way. And not speaking for all Bears fans, but I just see the clips from 670 The Score and ESPN Chicago. I saw the Chicago Sun-Times had the headline "Good, Better, Bust," because Ben Johnson's thing this year has been good, better, best. Never let it rest. You're good as better, better, best. There's a little bit of a play on words, good, better, bust. And Bears fans were flipping out on Twitter. Oh, tell me you didn't watch the game without telling me you didn't watch the game. How could you blame Caleb? I don't know, man. He had 3 interceptions. He had a bunch of interceptions last week too. Fourth down, red zone, that type of thing. And then Ben Johnson just refusing to kick field goals. Very interesting, but I always think about some of these games and these performances through the lens of, Jordan Love or Matt LaFleur. Like, if my coach had done that, if my quarterback had done that, what kind of things would be said, and what would callers say calling into shows like this? And I know that Jordan Love, had he played like Josh Allen or Caleb Williams this week, he would have been barbecued, which actually I kind of like. I like that we have standards. I like that we don't, notch moral victories. Chicago, obviously in a different place, and their franchise has experienced a lot less success. So, they're on the way up. The Packers have been up. They're trying to get over the top. A little different. But I was frustrated a little bit watching the quarterback play this week because I'm like, Jordan Love played better than all these guys a week ago. The even bigger frustration that I got watching other teams this weekend, and this is bigger than just quarterback play, although that's part of it maybe, but just big picture watching these other 4 games. And this was especially noticeable watching Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, watching the Bears, specifically with Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator, and then even the Bills to a lesser degree. I watched all of these teams this weekend and the coaches for the respective offense and defense. And I just get really frustrated because the way I saw it this weekend, I'm seeing a lot of teams doing more with less. And I think the Packers, especially in the playoffs the last couple of years and in games where they've lost, they've done less with more. Put it this way. I think the Patriots have a very nifty, gritty football team. I don't think they're a more talented team than the Packers. I don't think that Patriots team, everybody talks about, they just had a great draft. Will Campbell's been a fine player at left tackle, and Kyle Williams, the receivers, made a play here and there. And Travion Henderson started the year slowly. He was a good running back, good change of pace back with some big plays. But it's not like they just lit it up in the draft. They signed, Milt Hendrickson and a couple good players. But I don't think that Patriots team is an all-star team, is a team of Pro Bowlers. I think the Packers are more talented. The Bears defense especially has deficiencies and injuries everywhere. Their linebackers are beat up and their secondary is slow and they can't cover and their pass rush really isn't that good. And Dennis Allen dialed it up last night, using Jaquan Brisker and some of those players to pressure Matt Stafford. And I thought Dennis Allen, for the most part, outcoached Sean McVay for at least long stretches of the game last night. And I don't think the Bears have great defensive personnel. Ask a Bears fan. I would imagine they'd say the same thing. The Bills aren't nearly as talented as the Broncos, not even close. The Broncos might want Deion Dawkins, the left tackle. Maybe they'd want James Cook. They'd certainly want Josh Allen. But other than that, like, which players on the Bills would Broncos fans trade for their guy at their respective positions? No corners, no pass rushers. Like, it's mostly not a talented football team. They don't have that many good players. And interestingly enough, Sean McDermott, who got fired today, I actually thought did a pretty good job holding water on defense. If you'd have told me that Josh Allen would turn the ball over 3 or 4 times and say, oh, that game won't be close. And it was close. Because again, even though he got fired today, I thought McDermott did a pretty good job. And lots of Bills players, other than maybe Josh Allen, did a pretty good job on Saturday. They lost anyways, but that's beside the point. I watched multiple games this weekend and multiple teams and thought, man, they are dialed up. They are locked in. They're hitting harder. They're playing faster than they should be. They're playing at a level higher than you would think based on the back of their baseball card. Does that make sense? Like, why is Christian Ellis popping off the screen in a way that Edgerrin Cooper doesn't? I don't think Christian Ellis is a New England backer. I don't think he's a better player than Edgerrin Cooper, but I notice him more. He's hitting harder. He's making bigger impact plays. He's in the right spot. Jaquan Brisker, I think, is a pretty flawed player. I think Xavier McKinney, who is a second-team All-Pro, much better player. Different at his position, but still, like, I watched Jaquan Brisker last night and thought, oh, there's impact everywhere. They're moving him around. He's making plays. A lot of games, part of it's the nature of the safety position, but I'm like, I don't really feel an impact. I don't really see Xavier McKinney jumping off my screen in one way or another. I'm watching these other teams and thinking, man, there's a lot of these players who I don't think are special, but they're having special moments. And they're playing at a special level. They're playing at a high level. They're having some of their best career moments instead of their worst. And I think that's kind of the opposite of what we've seen with the Packers in some of these big games, big moments like the Bears in the regular season or the Bears in the playoffs. Yeah, so big games, but also in games that they just shouldn't be messing around in, like Cleveland and Carolina and Dallas. And there's one that I'm forgetting about. Well, I mean, Philly was a better team than some of the other ones that they lost to, but that was a game that they should have been able to win at home. Good God. So I just saw the opposite this weekend of what I've seen with the Packers. And I think I felt worse about Matt LaFleur moving forward. And Matt LaFleur, by the way, I guess maybe I buried the lead. We learned over the weekend that they are signing him to an extension. They have agreed on that. And it's a legit deal. It's a long-term deal. It's not a pillow deal. It's not a short-term, we'll bring you back and we'll see. Like, they have committed to him. And I would think he's probably got 2 more guaranteed years to coach until there's even a question about his job security again. And I felt worse about that this weekend because I'm looking at what Vrabel's doing. Like, LaFleur's not doing that. Or even what Dennis Allen is doing in Chicago with in my opinion, a less talented defense than what Jeff Hafley has. And the results weren't there. By the way, 8 minutes ago, Tom Pelissero, the Dolphins are closing in on a deal to hire Jeff Hafley as their head coach. Sources tell the insiders. Hafley, 46, impressed as the Packers defensive coordinator the past 2 seasons after a stint at Boston College. Now he reunites with GM John Eric Sullivan in Miami. Yeah, the defense really impressed. I mean, not down the stretch in the biggest, most important games, but he gives a good press conference. So genuinely, best of luck to Jeff Hafley. If they hire Raheem Morris next year or this offseason to replace him, I think they'll have a better defensive coordinator. I think Saleh's better. I think Flores is better. Big personality, might be a better head coach than a defensive coordinator. I think history will overrate the job that he did with the Packers defense, in my opinion. Not trying to be a hater, just looking at the facts. And I don't think his defense was to blame in Chicago. I think the offense had chances to win both games. But, giving up an avalanche of points in the fourth quarter and overtime, again, the opposite of what I saw from a defensive coordinator like Dennis Allen, who I thought coached it up. I saw Vrabel coaching it up. I even saw the Bills, like, they're playing above their weight class. Players that shouldn't be that good, teams that aren't that talented, playing at a higher level in a big game instead of a lower level. Imagine that. So I feel worse about Matt LaFleur being back as the Packers head coach. If you have any thoughts on the divisional round, especially how these teams and how these games pertain to the Packers, doesn't mean we need to always bring the Packers into the conversation tonight. If you just want to talk about how CJ Stroud sucked, he sucked. That's a fun conversation. We can do that. But I'm going to try to work the Packers in as much as possible. I'll get to your phone calls right after our first break here. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show reacting tonight to the divisional round. What a great weekend of football. And we'll work in the news that the Packers are extending Matt LaFleur. We pretty much knew that at the end of last week. We can talk about how that makes you feel. I feel worse about it after watching some other teams this weekend. And if you're just joining the show, my opening take is, man, I watched Vrabel. I watched Dennis Allen last night. I even thought McDermott and his staff did a really good job on Saturday with a team that wasn't as talented as their opponent. Denver's way more talented. And that coaching staff and the assistants and everybody had that game in the palm of Josh Allen's hand, there to be won. Now, he didn't win it, but that's a Josh Allen thing to me. He had a couple of big throws that he could have hit to win the game, and he didn't hit them. But I thought the rest of the team did its job. I thought the rest of the team would be the issue in Denver, not Josh Allen. So watching Vrabel, watching Dennis Allen scheme it up last night, watching the Bills and what they pulled off, I just see other coaches and other organizations raising their level and players popping and making big plays in big games. And then I watch the Packers, I'm like, they don't really do that thing. Which, I mean, that's borne out in the results. That's not an opinion. That's an observation. Breaking news at this hour as well. Jeff Hafley is going to the Dolphins. He will be their next head coach. Look, if Jeff Hafley wasn't such a vibrant, well-spoken young man, I don't think the Packers fans would feel as positively towards him. I'm not trying to kick him on his way out the door. I think he wields his press conference prowess to his, it's a strength of his, and it should be. And it's probably, you know what? I think there's a chance that Jeff Hafley is a better head coach than he was a defensive coordinator. If Raheem Morris is the next head coaching or the next defensive coordinator in Green Bay, and I got a couple of texts, Cindy and Madison says, so if Jeff goes to Miami, who do you think the Packers will bring in? Probably Raheem Morris. And I would bet right now, I think Raheem Morris will do a better job. Now, he'll have a healthy Micah Parsons for the stretch. Hopefully next year, you think. Maybe better corners. I don't think Jeff Hafley did anything remarkable with the Packers defense this year. Anybody can move Micah Parsons around the line of scrimmage to get him opportunity. Anybody can do that. How can you scheme up guys who are less talented? How can you find a way? Well, if we're missing an edge rusher, how do we use a strength somewhere else on the defense to make plays? I don't really think he did any of that. So I think the next guy will be better. And I think Jeff Hafley, the way that he operates and the kind of coach he is, he might actually have a better shot to succeed as a head coach than he did as a defensive coordinator this last year. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, happy Monday. Happy MLK Junior Day.
I should have said something. Happy MLK Day. I did watch the Bucks on Peacock earlier today. That was an odd game. They had a massive lead. They blew it, and then they got it back. So some NBA basketball on today. Cone, how are you?
Snooze fest. No one cares about the Bucks. Move on. In the spirit of MLK, I have a dream that one day the Packers will play in an NFC championship game again with Matt LaFleur as their head coach.
Are you saying, did you word it that way because it is just a dream, or are you actually thinking and believing that it could happen down the line?
Oh, I think it could happen easily. You look at the Seahawks Rams plan, like, are they any more talented than the Packers are?
No,
not at all. So, NFL's fluky. It can happen. No doubt about it.
I don't like that, though. That's supposed to be what we tell ourselves to convince ourselves that the Brewers could get in there. The Packers shouldn't need fluky. Like, they have talent. I was watching the Bills. The Bills should have beaten the Broncos. If Josh Allen makes a couple throws, the Bills should have won. They had no business being in that game on the road. And yet those guys raised their level. I thought the Bears' defense against the Rams raised their level. I'm sick of watching all these other teams raise their level while the Packers' best players make some of their worst plays in the most important games of the year. Like, that's my Matt LaFleur thing. And I feel worse about that now coming out of the divisional round.
That's not 100% Matt LaFleur's fault, though, that players shrink. At some point, these are grown-ups getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
They got to make plays, too. The
True.
O-line can't become a sieve against the Chicago Bears in the second half.
Yeah. You're right. It's just when you're looking at themes year to year, I think it's a little bit of both. Like the players need to stop being a bunch of babies, but also, the culture starts with the head coach and the approach starts with the head coach. Like, look at what Vrabel's done in New England. I don't think New England's roster is better. And are their players tougher? Are they bigger badasses? Maybe a little, but part of that stems from coaching as well, which I guess is what we've been debating for the better part of 3 weeks now, Cone. So I guess maybe we're talking in circles.
Yeah, and the whole Matt LaFleur alpha, that's been discussed for the last 5 years. So,
yeah. And I don't mean to get bogged down in, leader of men type stuff. By the way, before I let you go, Cone, another win stacked by our Wisconsin Badgers this weekend. That's 4 in a row. Not too bad.
Yeah, easy win, I'd say. Got a little close in the second half, but really never a scare. And to finish in spirit of MLK, one of the biggest injustices this weekend was that Brandon Cooks no catch call. And with that, I'll leave you. I'll hang up and listen.
So thank you, Cone. What I have learned about, because I watched it live and I'm like, maybe I'm stupid. It looked like a catch to me. It's like it's in his arms. He took it to the ground. But everyone that I talked to, including 2 of my best friends, we were talking about this in a group chat yesterday. And then I looked a lot on Twitter and people were like, you don't know the rules if you think this is a catch. I'm like, maybe I don't know the rules. Maybe I'm an idiot. But that play seems to be the football version of, remember the white and gold or black and blue dress? Where like you either saw one or the other and there was no in between. I thought it looked like a catch. If that happened to my team, I would be beside myself because they moved by so quickly, which maybe was the correct way to do it. If they gave it a quick look and said, yeah, that's got to stand, there's nothing we can do, like that's the call. Maybe it's just better to move on rather than to drag it out for 10 minutes and get everyone drummed up and then just to let the play stand anyways. I guess the solace for me as an NFL fan, or solace for Bills fans, would be your team had chances to win that game. Lots of chances. Like Josh Allen overthrew, was it Knox or was it Kincaid towards the goal line, would have won the game, missed the throw to Mecole Hardman, underthrew him in overtime. Like they just had opportunities. And, watching the Bills down the stretch, why are these quarterbacks so comfortable throwing jump balls? I see it all the time on third down. This happened in the Patriots game too. Happens with the Packers a lot, where it's 3rd and 4 and you're taking a shot 25 yards down the field, on the boundary, one-on-one. And you ask a coach about it or you ask a quarterback about it, and they'll always say, well, we like the matchup. Oh, okay. You know what I like? The wide receiver that's open. I like the guy who runs his route at the correct distance and breaks and creates separation so it doesn't have to be a 50-50 ball. You know who didn't throw 50-50 balls? Tom Brady. He's not leaving it up to chance. Even if he likes the matchup, we're going to go where it's schemed open. So, you throw a jump ball to Brandon Cooks with the game on the line, you get what you get. I thought it was a catch, but I am willing to accept that maybe I don't know the rules or maybe I don't care to know the rules. I don't know. But I watched that play. Josh Allen, man, McDermott got fired today, and that's probably the correct move for the Bills. For the same way or the same reasons I think a lot of people think the Packers should move on from Matt LaFleur is how many times are you going to keep going into the playoffs and losing? And I heard Colin Cowherd in his intro today talk about this as well. The one game, it was the 13 seconds left against the Chiefs. And then, the other one, it was, he was just listing off all the different ways in which the Bills had lost in the playoffs. And all the losses were a different thing. It was special teams, or it was defense, or then it was offense, or it was a fumble. At a certain point, if something keeps going wrong, that's got to be on the coach. I kept using the analogy last week. If the boat keeps springing a leak, I'm going to talk to the captain about it. I'm going to want to replace the captain if it's always something. The guy in charge has to, hold some responsibility. So it was maybe the right move for the Bills. They didn't lose that game on Saturday because of Sean McDermott. They lost that game. If you would have told me going into the game that the score would be what the score was, and I don't remember, I think the Bills were up by 3 or they were up by, they would have been up by 4 and then they gave up a touchdown, so they were up 3 and then it went to overtime. If you would have told me that the Bills were up 4 in the fourth quarter, I said they're winning that game because a one-possession game in the fourth quarter means Josh Allen can make the necessary winning plays. The arithmetic of that game is the Broncos team is so much better. They should be able to get some sort of a margin in the second half where Josh Allen can't put on the cape and win a game single-handedly. But that wasn't it. That game progressed exactly how you'd want, at least at the end, as a Bills fan. I know they trailed and they turned the ball over a bunch, but when it got to nut-cutting time in the fourth quarter, the Bills had a lead, or it was tied, or they had the lead with the ball. I think they were up 3 with the ball, and Josh Allen had a chance at the dagger, and he missed it. And then in overtime, he had chances to complete passes, and he didn't. And I'm not saying he played badly outside the turnovers. He did. But sometimes you're handed opportunities to win the game, and if you don't win the game, I can't put that on your coach. But again, that's a body of work firing in the same way that I think a lot of Packers fans wanted Matt LaFleur to be fired, not because of anything this year, but just the whole body of work and how this is shaped up year after year after year. So the Bills taking one approach, the Packers taking a very different one. Let's take another call or two here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. How you doing, my man?
Big Ron. What's going on?
Yes. I'm in a car in northern Maryland driving halfway through a drive from D.C. to northern New Jersey, coming back from a youth hockey tournament.
That's not too bad. Cold, though, probably.
Yeah.
Is it as cold out there as it is here?
It is 35 degrees.
Oh.
No, it's usually warmer here on the East Coast.
You're fine.
than the
You're
Midwest.
fine.
Yeah, we're fine. I agree with you that the Broncos had a much talent. I bet on the Broncos. I've been on them in that game. They had a much more talented roster, and I learned the hard way betting on the Super Bowl last year, taking Mahomes, that you don't bet the better quarterback. You bet the better team, and I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to take the Miami Hurricanes, which have, Indiana's clearly got the better quarterback, but
Ooh.
I think 8.5 is way too many to lay in that game.
So that's fine. I picked that when Bill and I did our picks, I took the Broncos because I think when we bet it, or we picked it for the show, the Broncos were only favored by 1.5. It's like, well, if I could get 3.5 or 4.5 with Josh Allen, then maybe. But the thing is, Big Ron, if you would have been dropped into that game in the fourth quarter and the Bills are up by 1 with the ball, wouldn't you at that moment then, wouldn't you live bet Josh Allen if you knew that that's the situation at the end of the game? Because that's what would kill me as a Bears fan or a Bills fan. The Super Bowl last year, the Eagles were so much better and the margin was so great. Like, even if Mahomes did amazing things, it wouldn't have mattered. Josh Allen had the chance to do amazing things.
Absolutely. I was really surprised. I wasn't going to cancel live bet on the Bills and cancel my Denver bet, but I see what you're saying.
Well, you could have hedged. That's a thing. That's a thing that gamblers do, right? You could have hedged, I guess, is just a thought exercise.
You can hedge.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big hedger. I'm more of a risk taker. But, I think the Bears, I think they led the league in turnover margin and turnovers caused. And I think they had a historic number of come from behind victories and come from behind within the last 2 minutes of a game. And I think all those categories, and they did really well in one-score games. I think all those categories involve some sort of luck and are bound for some regression to the mean.
Okay.
And I just really think they were luck merchants, and I think they're going to come back to earth next year.
I mean, a little bit.
What do you think about that?
So I don't think in spirit you're wrong, Big Ron. We can talk about this for 2 minutes, and then I got to take a break here. I think there were parts of some of these Bears wins that were lucky. Sure. And you think back to the regular season game, little special teams plays here. The Bengals game, where it was almost like the Minneapolis Miracle. No, not the well, yeah, when Marcus Williams whiffed on Stephon Diggs. And I don't remember who scored the game-winning touchdown against the Bengals. But you had him in the middle of the field. If you just take him down, the game's over. So, yeah, there was some luck. And certainly the Packers had to be complicit last week. They're up 21-3. The Bears can't win that game unless the other team helps them out a little bit. And the Packers certainly did. I don't know. It's also really difficult for me as a Packers fan to sit here and say, well, regressions aren't like a bitch. Well, I can't complain about that. My team won 9 games. You know what I mean? Like, they stepped all over themselves and beat themselves in a bunch of different ways. So I don't know. I guess it's just not really my thing. Be like, oh, regression's going to build. I think the Bears and Ben Johnson are set up in a way where they're not going to be bad. They might come back down to earth. What do they win, 9 or 10 games next year? I could see that happening against a tougher first place schedule. Sure, that could happen. I also wonder exactly where Caleb goes from here. Made some unbelievable throws. Still about 50 some percent completion, which is hard. Like, you know who makes, and I'm not drawing this comparison, just food for thought if you wanted to, still say that you were not sure on Caleb Williams. I would say, look at Kyler Murray, dude who, when he's right, makes unbelievable plays. But then the routine plays aren't always there. And playing in structure isn't always there. I'm not saying Caleb Williams is Kyler Murray because Caleb's built like a truck and he's a way better athlete and all these, better arm, all these things. But if you were unsure about Caleb Williams, you'd look at Kyler Murray and say, yeah, he can make some of the most eye-popping throws any quarterback has ever made. Is the whole quarterback position there? And I think for Caleb Williams, it's getting there. Absolutely. I think you saw him get better as the season went on. I probably wouldn't pick him to win, what did they win? 12 games this year? I probably wouldn't pick him to do that again next year, but I don't think they're going to be bad. And even if I did think that, I'd keep it to myself because otherwise I'm a salty Packer fan. We'll take a quick break. Right back to your calls on the other side. We'll talk about some of the other games as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
4 years. That's enough time to earn a college degree, to serve a full term as a president, to train for something big and become someone new.
You bet, and get 0% interest for 4 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, so you can invest in your home and in life's biggest moments. With exclusive features and customizations, Pella offers the highest quality products at a price you can afford.
Aim high when setting your New Year's resolution and imagine what you can do in 4 years when you finance your home project with Pella. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Sean McDermott, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, no more. He's been fired after 9 seasons. They've had a lot of success between him and Josh Allen. Josh Allen considered to be one of the greatest players in the game right now, without a doubt. And what do they have to show for it? They've got a couple of AFC championship losses, divisional losses, wild card losses. One of the reasons they let go of McDermott was his teams in big moments in the postseason played tight. Think about that for a minute. There's a little bit of a parallel there, isn't it? We sit here in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur getting a contract extension, and you look at the team that lost in big moments, gave games away, couldn't close out games, can't keep the heel of their boot on the throat of the opponent. They look like they played tight. One team said, enough, we've got to make a change. The other team is going to reward that.
As Bill posted a little clip on Twitter and on Facebook earlier today, the Bills firing McDermott and the Packers extending LaFleur is interesting. It's not exactly the same thing, and their histories are different, and I think Bills fans and Packers fans are annoyed or frustrated with their guy for different reasons, but the 10,000-foot view of it is similar enough. The Bills said this isn't working, and while we don't think he's a bad coach, and he wasn't directly responsible for why we lost on Saturday, at a certain point, we have to try something else. And the Packers are extending their guy. Now, the contract and the timing of the contract, that plays a role too. It's just an interesting comparison. And after a great divisional round with lots of good games and performances, we want to react to those games and talk about the stories coming from those games, but also, if we can, tie it back to the Packers, because this is the Wisco Sports Show. If you didn't know, if you're new here, get right back to your phone calls here. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's us?
Hey, Grant. It's Todd in Green Bay.
Hey, Todd. What's going on?
Yeah, I really like your opening. I felt the same way. I can remember the last time Bart Starr played for the Packers, so that's how old I am.
Okay.
And I've been fortunate to see a lot of home games. I've had season tickets over the last 5 decades. And, you know, Matt LaFleur got his job saved, I think, because the locker room saved him. And it's very unfortunate because you're right. You know, a lot of callers calling in to defend Matt LaFleur. No, he doesn't put even halfway. He let people throw in, you know, pitch and catch third downs easily, playing people too far back. He didn't stunt. He didn't create 56 hardly blitz. The first 9 games they played vanilla. They let all these other teams hang around, stay in the big game. And even last night I'm watching the Rams. Well, there's where LaFleur got his stuff. The Rams almost blew it last night. He was almost coaching like LaFleur does on offense.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, you know, I can't believe Ed Policy and Gutekunst, we have the talent. We have way more talent. You're watching the Final Four here. The Packers are right in there. They could have been there. And if you, in the quarterback play too, if you can't build a winning team with Jordan Love's talent and what he's done, how he plays. I was at the Saints game. I go, we have season tickets. I'm there. Okay. He has it in him to carry the team on his back. It's in him. But Matt LaFleur's offense and his offensive staff and game planning doesn't bring that out in him. You know, even the last couple of Bear games, there was a couple points where the backup quarter Malik could have ran in for a touchdown, and Jordan Love could have ran in for a touchdown if they. Mm-hmm. But Matt LaFleur is just not taking those guys aside and saying, "Hey, this is a Packer Bear game. We have to win this. We want to get in the playoffs." You know, going back, you know, they said the economic impact on the Badgers losing. Well, it's the same thing for the Packers. I went to 20 years of the Packers losing in the 70s and 80s, and then we turned around and how much Green Bay built up. And I just don't think Ed Policy and Gutekunst are taking this seriously. We can't just be falling around here and letting the Green Bay Packers just flail. It's not worth it.
Well, and I know, Todd, I'm going to cut you off. I appreciate it. I know a lot of Packers fans are saying, well, since when is the 7th seed and first-round exit? Since when is that standard acceptable? And I would say that's fair. I think the Packers, part of the arithmetic of extending LaFleur is they don't believe that will be the case next year or beyond. At least I hope. I hope not. This is interesting. We've gotten calls for as long as I've done the show and as long as I've been doing Bill's show with him, we get comments and callers, people who genuinely believe that the Packers are perfectly fine with just getting into the playoffs, just being good enough, just getting in, get a playoff game or two. That's good. They don't feel the need to try or to aim any higher. And I don't think that's true. I would bet everything I own that that's not true. But it's pretty hard for me to tell people who feel that way that they're wrong when they've been first round exit, 5 straight losses to end the year, 4 straight losses to end the year, 3 straight years of the 7th seed, haven't won the division since Aaron Rodgers this year. It's really hard for me to tell those people that they're wrong when they just gave that guy a big extension. So, Todd, you would fall into that category. You're probably looking at the Packers and saying, since when did we lower the standard? Since when is Green Bay not title town anymore? And I can't really tell you that you're wrong to feel that way. The Bills taking a different approach. Obviously, the Ravens and the Steelers as well. Different situations. But again, the 10,000-foot view is those organizations said something isn't working. We can't just keep doing this over and over again. The Packers taking a different approach. A lot of fans aren't happy about it. Jeff Hafley is going to the Dolphins, by the way. That's breaking news. I'll hit that in the last segment of the hour. I'll give you 8 minutes on that after our last break here. Let's take one more call. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Andy in Sun Prairie. How are you doing, Grant?
I'm doing good, Andy. What's up?
Hey, I watched first things. Before I get to that, you are a salty Packer fan. I'm a salty Packer fan. Be you, okay?
That's fair.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's fair.
2, I was watching First Things First for a little bit, and they were starting to crown Caleb Williams as the next big thing. And to be honest, I don't know how they could feel that way, considering he seems to throw the ball better when he's not looking at his target. I mean, there was 2 big plays. I didn't watch all of the game yesterday. I watched from the fourth quarter on, because that's really all you have to watch on a Bears game is from the fourth quarter on. And, of course, he brings him back and all that. But there's 2 big throws. One is where he's on 4th and whatever it is, and he's dead to rights, and he throws a ball that he does not know where it's going, except maybe towards the end zone, and connects on that pass. The other one is a interception in overtime where he knows where he should, at least is looking exactly where he's throwing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how, I don't know what's in the water in Chicago where they think that Caleb Williams is going to somehow be the guy. He had, was it 3 or 4 interceptions yesterday? I mean,
yeah,
they were a game and a half away from being the 7th seed.
Yep.
I mean, they were.
I get it.
I mean, things aren't that bad here. And that's the other thing. Go to your last caller in all of this. I mean, at the end of the day, we were 1 onside kick and the Browns lost away from literally being the 2 seed. And having a home game, having that game be at home, and having the season turn out a lot different. So I think they were right to keep LaFleur, and I think that anybody that's saying, hey, let's pull a Buffalo and throw the baby out with the bathwater really is kind of being short-sighted. So that's my 2 cents.
And that's fine, Andy. I think you're in the minority. Well, at least in the crowds that I talk to, because people who pick up a phone and dial a sports radio show are probably, those people just probably skew negative. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a lot of people who are at home like, I love my Packers, and I think Matt LaFleur is a pretty good coach. Maybe he's not perfect, but I think the Packers did the right thing. You know what? I'm going to call my local sports talk radio show and say that. There's not a lot of those people. So, Andy, I think you're in the minority. I appreciate you listening in Sun Prairie. You got to understand the perspective difference between Packers and Bears fans, okay? I think Caleb is very good. I think there's times where he looks like young Aaron Rodgers. And then there's moments where it's like, or maybe there's a little Kyler Murray too, where it's like you can make the tremendous throws, but can you consistently start to finish, play the quarterback position? Like, sure, I don't think he's a finished product, and I don't think he's, the next superstar in the league. Well, he might be on the way, but I don't think he's there now. You guys got to understand the perspective difference between Packers and Bears fans. They've never had a guy who's half of what Caleb Williams currently is. And there's a possibility that Caleb Williams is only half of the player he's going to turn into. So you folks have to understand, most Bears fans have never seen anything close to what Caleb Williams has done. And I said this at the beginning of the show, I'll reiterate, if Jordan Love turned in a performance like Caleb Williams did yesterday, we would not be saying, wow, he's just getting started. You can see the talent. Look at the plays. We'd be saying, you can't turn the ball over 3 times in a playoff game. Well, yeah, the 4th down throw was nice, but it was a prayer ball. You know what I mean? But our perspective is different because our experiences are different. Our history is different. So I think Bears fans are right to be doing cartwheels today? No, but I don't think they are. I think there's a good mix of optimism that they have the quarterback and the coach, and there should be. And I think there's an amount of frustration that they should have won yesterday. I don't know. I'm also not going to police what Bears fans are saying and thinking and Bears media is saying and thinking because it's not my business as a Packers fan. And of course, I am not going to be a reliable narrator because my team lost to that team and I don't like them. So I'll give you a couple minutes on Jeff Hafley's departure coming up next as we wrap up hour number 1.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last couple minutes, first hour of the show. The Monday mailbag in about 50 minutes. Submit your questions, all topics on the table. grantbills21@gmail.com. Kind of a fun grab-ass segment where we talk about a bunch of different random things, whatever you want to talk about. I'll discuss it all. GrantBills21@gmail.com. We'll do that at 5:50. Jeff Hafley is the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And this was the possibility that we talked about right away when John Eric Sullivan was hired down there. Goody's number 2, director of Who's-He What's-It's, now gets his shot to run the show down in Miami. And when that happened, I said, okay, I don't really know how this affects the Packers front office. This is a crippling loss with their personnel department. I don't know. For all I know, John Eric Sullivan's up there designing the Canva graphics on the PowerPoints. I don't know. But I do know, and I said at the time, the thing I do know, the only thing I can speak to is it seems likely that maybe he would try to take Jeff Hafley. So he's going to be the head coach down there. I see a lot of Packers fans on Twitter just over the last hour since this news is broken, speaking up Jeff Hafley, great run as a DC or well-deserved. I don't doubt that Jeff Hafley wowed in interviews and will have a real shot to succeed as a head coach because I know guys will play for him. I mean, they didn't in the Ravens game a couple weeks ago, but whatever. We'll forget that. Cast that off as a blip on the radar. I think his guys will play for him. He'll be a great voice to try to turn around a team down in Miami that needs a strong voice. I think he'll be good at that thing. Schematically, and we've been on this for weeks, I just wasn't impressed at all with the Packers defense. Well, Grant, they don't have Micah Parsons. They don't have Devontae Wyatt. Yeah, okay. But what about Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker and Enigbare and Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney and Javon Bullard? Well, they have Keyshawn Nixon at corner. Yeah, and so, look, the Bears corners stink too. And I was really impressed with what Dennis Allen schemed up. They were in Sean McVay's ass. They were all up in Matt Stafford's lap. He was uncomfortable most of the night. And I think the Packers have more talent on their defense than the Bears do on theirs. It's not impressed. And I'm not trying to take shots at Jeff Hafley on his way out the door. I don't just want to talk about how awesome this guy was because he gave good press conferences. And I'll miss the press conferences because we would run them and we would break down the audio on Bill's show. And I'm going to miss it because it was good content. But the football of it all, if Matt LaFleur circles back and tries to hire Jim Leonard or hires Raheem Morris, I would bet a lot of money that either one of those two guys will do a better job next year than Hafley did this year. And yes, I am smart enough. I'm an idiot, but I'm smart enough to adjust my expectations and adjust what I'm looking at based on whether or not Micah Parsons is out there. Well, they were a different defense, Micah Parsons. Yeah, I should hope so. Jeff Hafley, did you see what he did, Grant? He moved him from the left tackle to over the center. Oh. It's quite literally the bit from South Park where Cartman's like, we've moved the couch from the left side of the office to the right. Anybody can do that. I'm not saying that Jeff Hafley's a bad coach. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't think his tactical presence from this last year will be difficult for Matt LaFleur to replace. I would bet on Raheem Morris being the guy, and I would bet on him being a better pound-for-pound defensive coordinator than Jeff Hafley was. I can't speak to the press conferences. I can't speak to the moxie. The X's and O's, which is what I care about as a coordinator, I think that will be just fine. In fact, I think it will be better. Jeff Hafley might be a better head coach than a defensive coordinator. I think some of his people skills probably are better as a head coach. All right, hour number 2, we'll get an update from Zach, and then I want to get into some of the reporting about Matt LaFleur's extension. We'll do that to begin hour 2.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, there are 10 head coaching vacancies in the NFL, but that does not include the Packers. That's after they reportedly agreed to a contract extension with head coach Matt LaFleur over the weekend. His deal was set to expire after the 2026 season, but he's now locked in. Last week during his end-of-season press conference, LaFleur was asked why he wanted to stay in Green Bay.
I love this place. I love the people. As much as you guys drive me nuts sometimes, I love you guys. I love our players, the locker room, everybody in our organization. I mean, this is a unique place. The community has been outstanding.
LaFleur has made the playoffs in all but 1 year of his 7 seasons. Extensions also expected for GM Brian Gutekunst and Vice President Russ Ball. Meanwhile, LaFleur likely going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator. Jeff Hafley has interviewed with nearly a half dozen franchises for their open head coaching position, including in Miami. Turning to Wisconsin, their number of transfer portal addition is now 32. That's after Augustana offensive lineman Styles Blackman committed this morning. That's a D2 school, is Augustana. Badgers have brought in 5 offensive linemen so far.
Every child deserves a fair shot at a bright future. That's why Save the Children Head Start administers Head Start programs in rural America. We leveled the playing field early, helping children start school strong, stay strong, and unlock their full potential. Because education is the best path out of poverty. Learn more at savethechildren.org/Head Start.
Well, the Badgers going to be back in action on Thursday when Penn State comes to the Kohl Center. Wisconsin's won 4 straight to get to 5-2 in Big Ten play. Selection Sunday now less than 2 months away, and the Bucs held on to beat Atlanta 112-110 earlier this afternoon. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Command in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space, in all kinds of trouble, put it up for grabs in the end zone. Command! He got it! For the touchdown! They've done it again! 48 deep drop. Williams got time. Shot downfield in trouble. Is intercepted by Can Curl. Davis from 42 online, and it's good. And the Los Angeles Rams go to the championship game.
Honestly, I don't even want to talk about next year yet. There'll be a time and a place for it. We're still hurting. We had a great opportunity here this year to make a name for ourselves. Proud that we were able to get to this point. Disappointed that we fell short.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Good update from Zach, the latest in Wisconsin sports. We also know that as of about an hour ago, Jeff Hafley, the new coach of the Miami Dolphins, Madtown Ryan texts in. I neglect the text line. It's bad. Says, I agree with you, Grant. I don't know if he was the best defensive play caller or schemer, but he is a motivator of men. I'll give them that now. I'm more excited. Who do we get to hire this defensive? Who do we hire as defensive coordinator to utilize the defense better? Raheem Morris seems almost too easy. I don't know, him and Matt LaFleur are buddies. He just got fired in Atlanta. I don't think he's going to be at the top of head coaching lists. So I think he would make a lot of sense. I think he'd be better than Hafley. Jim Leonard, maybe? Circle around again. Now, when Jim Leonard, there's a couple of different, there's factors that make Jim Leonard at least possible. I don't know. I don't know anyone. I'm not sourced. I see some smart people tweeting about Jim Leonard. He's taking interviews. The last time that Jim Leonard was interviewed, he probably had some sort of an idea like maybe I'm the head coach at Wisconsin one day. I don't know that to be true or not, but people have written about that and talked about that. Now, that's not true. He's in the NFL. I also think that it should matter for Jim. It should matter to Jim Leonard that Matt LaFleur is just extended. He's not coming in and immediately going to work for a head coach who's on the hot seat. You would think there's going to be a runway, as much of a runway as you realistically get in the NFL. You know what I mean? If they win 2 games next year, he'll get fired, or he should. But he's not coming into a lame duck situation where it's like, this year is the year where they could decide. So he'd be coming in at a contractually good time where there's a lot of runway with the coach. There's not the whole Wisconsin element that was there. I'm always skeptical of the whole inner succession plan. I've talked about this before. So people are like, they should fire Chris and promote Leonard. And maybe in hindsight, they should have. I don't feel like there's a lot of assistants on staffs. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I just don't think that's the way the world works, where the assistant's like, well, if the head coach gets fired, maybe they'll promote me. Maybe you guys feel that way. I don't know. It just doesn't work that way a lot. But Hafley has moved on, and my take on this is I think the next guy will be better. I can't promise that he's going to give really good press conferences like Hafley did, but schematically, I think he'll be better. I was very infrequently, especially in the second half of the year, impressed with what Hafley was doing schematically. And you might say, well, Grant, he had no Parsons. He had no Wyatt. Okay. Who did Dennis Allen have last night? I thought they did a great job. You tell me that the Patriots defensive staff is that much better? Christian Ellis over Edgerrin Cooper? You know what I mean? Like Xavier McKinney and Jaquan Brisker. I'd take Xavier McKinney, or at least I think I would. I'd take Edgerrin Cooper, not Christian Ellis. And yet I watch these other teams. They're schemed up. They're hitting. They're making big plays. So Jeff Hafley certainly can speak and motivate if you exclude the Baltimore Ravens, where the guys had no interest playing for him on defense. But again, whatever, we'll ignore that game. I think he has a chance to be a good head coach. I think whoever Matt LaFleur hires to replace him will be a better defensive coordinator next year than Jeff Hafley was this year. There's a little bit more to the job than we have Micah Parsons now. Well, maybe I'll move him around a little bit so the opponent doesn't know where he's coming from. Like, that's kind of day one stuff. They need a little bit more. 608-321-1670. Thank you for waiting through the break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Line number 1? All right, I'm going to put you back on hold. I'll come back. You might have dropped off, but I'll come back in a minute here. Let's go line 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant Bills, happy Monday. How we living?
I was going to be disappointed if we didn't hear from you tonight, Vagabond John. I'm good, by the way.
Man, I was amped up this morning. Called Bill's show about halfway through my espresso, and went to go listen back today, and it's taken off YouTube. Copyright infringement. Uh-oh. Somebody tell the producer.
I can get that audio for you if you'd like it. If you want to go back and check the tape.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Sure.
Some reaction. I'm going 3 for 3. Called the morning show, called the midday show, calling the evening show. Got to switch it up for each one. So different angle from this weekend. Bears fans are really on their high horse, and they're high horse about Ben Johnson, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of looking at this Bears and this NFC North situation as we just saw the Lions do this, where they had a really good initial run with the coach kind of building up a team. For Ben Johnson, it's really taking the reins over and accelerating a team. But nothing's guaranteed in the NFL, man. And there's a lot of Bears fans, and I was bartending in downtown St. Paul last night. There's a lot of Bears fans just thinking, man, we've really got it now. Now we've got it. And it's man, the NFL moves fast. But
yeah, remember when the Packers beat Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott in 2016, and the takeaway was, okay, so the Packers got him, but how many Super Bowls is this team going to go to? And they never even got close. And by the way, I'm not saying that to make myself feel better about the Bears. I think Ben Johnson is great, and Caleb Williams is seemingly getting better, and he looks like young Aaron Rodgers. But to your point, you don't know. And even Ben Johnson, I'll play you this cut. I thought it was a brilliant point he made in his postgame presser. Momentum from year to year, it doesn't really work that way. You're starting from scratch to begin the next year, and that's true of the Packers. That's true of the Vikings and Lions. It doesn't build one year to the next. If you maintain good players and good coaches, that helps, but I'll play that cut coming up instead of just trying to paraphrase. But I think you're right. We just got to be careful of not making it sound like we're baby Packers fans trying to, regression to the mean coming next year. I don't really like that.
Well,
Sorry,
no, I think the Bears are for sure. A contender, at least in being competitive with the Packers. I mean, look, we went for a stretch run there for 8 straight seasons where we looked at the schedule. We do win-loss every year, and the Bears were a joke every single season. It was like Minnesota pre-PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden, geez, we got to worry about that guy. But when you're looking at this team going forward, the word that you continue to hear everybody saying is continuity. At the end of the day, that's what's going to really strive. And so everything you just said about Ben Johnson, I believe, and it kind of is in stark contrast to how Packers reporters and how everybody's trying to change their tune now after clamoring and banging the drum for Matt LaFleur. Well, the continuity makes sense. Look at all these young people.
Yep.
Meanwhile, on the defensive side, you invested all of these draft picks. I mean, go all the way back to Rashawn Gary, et cetera. Now you're going to have their third defensive coordinator in 5 years for what? Or I guess 3 years, right? And so continuity on one side of the ball, sure. Zero continuity on the other side of the ball, but we'll see what the new guy does.
I think the new guy will be better. Vagabond John, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to kick Hafley on his way out the door. I think Packers fans overrate the job he did. Very likable. Great press conference. I liked his messaging. I think the football of it all, especially down the stretch this year, left a lot to be desired. And I feel like, here's the thing. Here's what I try to do on the show. I am not obsessed with predicting things and being right about things, but I try to get out in front of things so I make it clear where I stand. And when Micah Parsons went down, I said, look, they're not going to be as good. But if Jeff Hafley is the guy we think he is, and Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, if all those guys are the guys that we think they are, this defense should not go in the tank. They should not suck. And they kind of sucked down the stretch. So again, I'm not cherry picking. Right when Micah got hurt, I'm like, here's how we're going to operate. Here's how we're going to watch this guy and judge how he does. And I didn't need them to be a top 5 defense in the NFL, but they went to a bottom 5 defense in the NFL in a lot of categories. You just got to give me a little bit more than that. I hate to keep bringing this up. I thought Dennis Allen did a great job for the Bears last night. And the Patriots, well, defending CJ Stroud maybe isn't the most difficult thing in the world. I think those guys are all playing above the level that you'd think based on the back of their football card. You know what I mean? Even with the Bills on Saturday, I know they lost, but I was really impressed with how that roster faced. And with the Packers, I'm like, there's There's supposed to be a lot of great young players, Pro Bowlers, on this defense. Second team All-Pro, Xavier McKinney. Jaquan Brisker was everywhere last night. You're telling me Jeff Hafley couldn't do different things with different players? Like, who did he move around? Who did he use differently? They just kind of sat in a soft zone and said, we're going to prevent big plays, which maybe was a fine strategy when your offense is pouring it on. But in the fourth quarter, when you needed to dial something up and get a stop late in the season, when these fourth quarters went off the rails, they couldn't find it. So I wish Jeff Hafley the best of luck. Really likable. Enjoyed his press conferences. Enjoyed him as a person. Him as the defensive coordinator, especially down the stretch this year, left a little to be desired. And I think he's pretty replaceable. Like, I think Raheem Morris, Jim Leonard, whoever, these likely candidates, I'm like, yeah, there shouldn't be a drop-off there at coordinator. Not trying to be a hater. It's just calling balls and strikes. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's Caleb in La Crosse.
Hey, Caleb. What's up?
Well, maybe you noticed, maybe you did not call all week last week because I was just mourning the loss. But can't lie, the win by the Rams last night, I think, allowed the healing process to start. That was just very cathartic for me. You can call me a salty Packers fan that we lost to the Bears, but
look,
that felt really good.
I'm with you, Caleb. Again, I'm trying to, because for the longest time, Caleb, the Packers would make the playoffs and the Bears wouldn't, and then the Packers lose in the playoffs, and Bears fans would be like, ha ha ha, and we'd always be like, is this all you guys have? Is cheering for? So that's all we have is cheering for the Bears to lose, and that makes me a loser. But I'm with you. I felt great going to bed last night. And I honestly, Caleb, I think part of me was I can exhale and I don't have to worry about the Bears next weekend. Or, you know what I mean? Like, the possibility of them winning a Super Bowl and sticking in our face is now dead. So now I can take a deep breath and relax. Makes me a loser. But it's true. I agree with you. I felt that, Caleb, last night too.
Oh, yeah. I was, after we lost in the first round, I was okay with really anyone winning but the Bears. And so check mark there. We're all good. I'm happy whoever wins. So that's that. The other thing I agree with what most people are saying. I think likely Raheem Morris is going to end up being our next defensive coordinator, but my dark horse pick would be Al Harris. I think that would just be absolutely electric. I think that would be a fan favorite. Very unproven commodity, certainly as far as defensive coordinators go, but I know. I think that'd be something that'd be really fun. So who knows? It
would be great for the talk show, Caleb. I appreciate the call. He has done really good work. He was in Dallas when Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland were playing at a really high level. He's been in Chicago. So I think wherever he's been, and maybe this is a coincidence, right? Correlation doesn't always equal causation or whatever that is. But you can look at his last couple of stops and say his secondaries, his corners have played instinctive and they force turnovers and they're game wreckers. They have really good, football skills. Does that make him a good overall defensive coordinator? I don't know. Be great for the talk show. Yes. Raheem Morris seems so obvious and so easy to the point where knowing what LaFleur has done with previous hires is like, well, it can't be that. It's too easy. It's too obvious. Caleb, the one thing that would make me nervous, you're in a Super Bowl window right now, and there are proven guys out there who have done it. Raheem Morris, first and foremost. Going with an unknown, you can't miss. You can't swing and a miss on this. Maybe a couple of years ago you would have been able to, but not right now. Not the way this team is built. There's going to be too much on the line next year, so that would make me nervous. Be great for the show, though. Oh, my God. Al Harris coming back? Absolutely. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's up, Louie?
Hey, Grant. You kind of made a comment on Bill's show about the Rams looked pretty tight last night, and they did. They won the game. But, how much – so when I think back to that Atlanta Falcons team that blew the 28-3 lead.
Yep.
You had Kyle Shanahan, you had Matt LaFleur, you had Mike LaFleur.
Yep.
You had Mike McDaniel there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's just some mental scar tissue for all those guys from just like they're almost in their own heads about keeping leads? Because obviously LaFleur's here. He's here to stay for a while. I'm not trying to rehash that. But do you think that's something that can be kind of worked out of kind of their kind of fleshed out and kind of get over it? Or is that something you never really get over because it seems to affect all of them really?
Well, I don't think Dan Quinn got over it in Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta and the players who were there ever got over it. I find it very interesting, the theory that it mentally messed up all the coaches on the staff, all those offensive guys. I don't know. I do have on my rundown, Louie, and it's something that we're going to get to before the end of the show. I think Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur have all been proven on different levels, great offensive designers, great play callers, and good culture builders, better culture builders than they get credit for. These guys all get tight, man. Couldn't you feel it watching the Rams could you not just feel it watching the Rams last night, Louis? Blank stares,
Yeah.
McVay looks spooked.
And I can't tell if it's like a personality trait that they're all kind of intertwined because they all kind of are wired the same way, and that's just how they are.
Sure.
But in theory, when you're trying to hold the lead, all those guys run the best offense to do that, right? Kind of run the ball, but still have a good passing game and play action and all that. In theory, that's the offense you would want to run to maintain a lead. But I think they're all kind of high strung, and obviously this is just a hunch. I'm not going off any hard data. I think they're all a little bit inside their minds. McVay won the Super Bowl, a couple of years back. They were one Matt Stafford interception right to the hands of another guy from not getting there. Now, most Super Bowl teams have that sort of moment at some point along the line, but I love how they all scheme up their offense. But yeah, I would agree they're all tight as opposed to Andy Reid, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. You can't tell if they're winning or losing based on their mannerisms on the sideline.
So you're right about this. So there's one thing I want to look up here. Louis, that's a great call. We're going to talk more about this after this break because I have a couple of remarks that I prepared on the McVay-Shanahan coaching tree. But just something that I remembered about the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. Do you remember how the Rams closed it out? Do you remember how they won? And I just want to make sure that I'm remembering correctly. The Rams closed it out on defense. It was Aaron Donald. That much I remember, but I'm trying to remember time and score exactly. So the Bengals were up 17-13 to start the second half, and the Rams these were the Rams' possessions in the second half. Interception, field goal, punt, touchdown drive to go up 23-20. So they took the lead with 4.5 minutes remaining. They closed it out on defense. Aaron Donald closed it out. McVay's offense didn't close it out. They took the lead on a big drive, but it was the defense and Aaron Donald who closed it out, which kind of reminds me of how it sometimes feels with the Packers. I mean, you can even go back to the Super Bowl with McCarthy. Greg Jennings was mic'd up on the sideline. You can find it in the recap videos going, I hate putting our defense in this position every week because when they had a chance to slam the door, Aaron Rodgers overthrows Greg Jennings just a little bit. They kick a field goal to go up 6 instead of getting the touchdown to win it, and the defense gets the stop. I think was it Tramon Williams at the end. Everyone wanted a flag, and then you watch the replay, and it was like, it's a good no call. So I think some of these offensive coaches, which, Louis, you're right. If any type of coach should be predisposed to slamming the door on offense, it should be the coaches with the best offenses. But it hasn't been that for Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur. And I want to talk about that next because had yesterday gone differently, had the Rams blown that game yesterday, and if McDermott doesn't get fired this morning, I'm always curious and I'm always thinking, hey, what's going to be the big story tomorrow? What's everybody talking about? I don't know if it would have been the number one story, but somewhere on rundowns for shows today is, man, all the Shanahan, McVay guys, LaFleur guys, they get pretty tight. They get kind of choky. And then there was news this morning and the Rams ended up winning, so it didn't matter, I guess. But I want to discuss this more, Louis. I appreciate you bringing this up. And then at 5:30, we'll get to Matt Schneidman's latest reporting about some of the machinations of Matt LaFleur's extensions. That's what's coming up before we get to the Monday mailbag at 5:50.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I gotta say, this was a weird McVay game. Like,
Oh,
didn't run the ball when they should. When it seemed like they just needed to get things going, they were throwing the ball 3 straight times in the middle of the field. And then when it got down to, the important moments, they would run the ball and they wouldn't throw it. I mean, there was a crazy moment in the fourth quarter where there's 2 minutes and 7 seconds left in the game, and they run the ball and then just punt it back to the Bears.
It was 3rd and 10, and there's 2 minutes and 7 seconds left. Bears had taken a timeout, so the Rams would have the opportunity to throw the ball and try to get the first down, which would really, really almost end the game. Maybe the Bears would get the ball back or get the ball with like 20 seconds left, because there's no benefit to running, because if you run on 3rd and 10, it's just going to go 7 seconds, 2-minute warning, and you're not going to, and the Bears, if between the action of passing the ball and the punt, it's going to go to the 2-minute warning before the Bears take the ball back anyway. So you think the Rams should pass it, and instead they just do a draw and get like 3 yards, and they punt it back, and they forego the opportunity to not give the Bears the ball back. And then the Bears came back and scored a freaking touchdown and tied the game.
The Ringer Fantasy Football fellas, Craig Horlbeck, Danny Heifetz, friend of show, Danny Kelly, talking about McVay. The Rams got tight down the stretch. And again, had the Rams lost, we could be living in an alternate universe today. If the Rams had lost yesterday and McDermott isn't fired this morning, so those are the big stories, right? Those are the big Rams moving on, Rams Seahawks, McDermott fired, Caleb made a great throw. Those are the stories. If the sports content dice land a little differently, I think there's a world in which today, Get Up or First Take or First Things First, and I haven't caught up on what every single show has said, so this maybe has been discussed. A topic today that I thought was very much on the board last night watching the end of this game is, can we talk about the Shanahan-McVay guys? These guys get tight. Why do they all blow leads and mismanage leads? Shanahan's done it in 2 Super Bowls. And to be fair to Shanahan, he's actually done it in 3 Super Bowls. So the first one, they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Obviously, it was the OC when they're up 21-3 over Brady, and then they lost to Mahomes the second time around, and I think they had a lead. I'm not sure. Now, I can excuse Shanahan a little bit. Oh, he's blown 3 leads in Super Bowls. Well, who is he playing? Oh, just Patrick Mahomes in 2 of them and Tom Brady in the other. Like, okay, well, so there is that. Like that. I'm not saying blowing leads in Super Bowls is ever good, but if you're going to blow leads to somebody, okay, those are the 2 guys that I would want to blow a lead to if I had to. McVay and what he did last night, man. the way they managed it, backed up in their own end zone, and the way they handled that series. And obviously, LaFleur, they've had a double-digit second half or fourth quarter lead in just about every game this year, including a 21-3 halftime lead, and then a 9-point lead down the stretch in the fourth quarter, whatever it was, 9-point lead in Chicago. McManus. What is it with these guys? Getting tight, getting nervous. Their teams get tight. Their teams get nervous. I think there's a huge disconnect. There's a massive disconnect in the NFL right now. I don't get it. I'm very dumb. But every once in a while, and you might feel this way too. It's like, look, and I'm not speaking for you and your intelligence level, but I think a lot of people are like me where it's like, look, I'm just an average Joe. I'm not an expert on mathematics or nuclear physics or the periodic table. I'm not a brilliant person. But every once in a while, regular schmucks like us will be walking through life and saying, am I stupid and crazy, or does everyone have this thing wrong? You know what I mean? Like every once in a while, we're walking through life. It's like, look, I'm no expert or genius here, but am I the only one looking at this the way I'm looking at it? I don't get why coaches get so obsessed with the clock in football games where they're leading when there's like 3 minutes left, 2 minutes, 50 seconds, 2 minutes, 45 seconds left. The way coaches handle the clock on offense in those situations, you'd think there's 30 seconds left. Well, we could try to get a first down or we could bleed clock. Sean, there's 2 minutes left. Caleb Williams will march the entire length of the field and have time left over. Like, stop paying attention to the clock. Win the game. Win the game. And then, look, if you don't pick up the first down, you're going to punt the ball back to him anyway. The way they handled that sequence, and I guess here, let me pull it up real quick just so I have the exact timestamp. And Heifetz laid it out really well in that cut. But I just want the numbers in front of me. The final series, I guess, in regulation that the Rams had on overtime, or before overtime on offense, they punted. They go 5 plays. There's 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left. Hand the ball off, 2-yard gain. Clock runs. The 10-yard run with 2:58 left. And of course, Kyron Williams runs out of bounds. It drives me nuts. Running backs that run out of bounds instead of just going down, fall, slide on your ass. Even if you are coming up 2 or 3 yards short of where you would otherwise, the yardage is not important. The fresh set of 6 and the running clock is. So of course, Kyron Williams runs out of bounds. So after that, it's first down. There's 2:52 left. They go 2-yard run, minus 2-yard run, 2-yard run, 3-yard run. Sean McVay, there is 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. You are not winning the game playing the clock unless you get a first down. And Chicago has timeouts left too. Again, a head coach will look at the clock and see 2:50. And in their brain, and again, this is why I feel like I'm the one person looking at this objectively. Everyone else has this thing wrong. Coaches will look at the clock when it says 2:50, and their brain will tell them it says 25 seconds. Do you coaches understand with how good these quarterbacks are and how the rules are all slanted to the offense? Do you understand how quickly a team can get down the field? Do you understand how quickly they can get down the field? 2:50 might as well be 10 minutes. I'm being serious. I don't know for the life of me why a head coach would prioritize getting the clock from 2:13 to 2:05 instead of trying to pick up the first down that wins the game. Those are the options. Those are the options that a coach is playing with and choosing with in that situation. 2:13 left. It's 3rd and 10. Here are the two choices, Sean. You run 10 seconds off the clock, and you give the ball back to Chicago before the 2-minute warning or at the 2-minute warning, or you win by picking up the first down. In what world is trying to burn an additional 8 seconds or burn one additional timeout when you're in the shadow of your own end zone? In what world is the value of 8 seconds more worth it than the possibility of winning the game? Now, if the Rams were at midfield, and you were for certain going to pin them down inside their own 20, maybe. But again, 2 minutes is so much time. Have you watched Caleb Williams? He can sidearm or throw 45 yards down the field, and he's impossible to sack. So you're not going to force probably a big negative play. I don't understand why coaches, again, this is the best way that I can describe it. A head coach, when managing play calls on offense, will look at the game clock and see 250, and their eyes will tell their brain that it says 25 seconds. No, 250, which again might as well be 10 minutes. So I am waiting for the coaches of the NFL to catch up with my brain, which is terrible at just about everything. But for whatever reason, I've found an edge here. You people, you don't start playing the clock until you're under the 2-minute warning. It's worthless. Well, like a coach will get the ball with 4 minutes left, and they think they've achieved some great victory by getting it down to 2:15 before punting it. 2:15 is so long. They don't have any timeouts. It doesn't matter. 2:15 is so much time, especially when you're punting from your own end zone. And it was a terrible punt, and it should have been a terrible punt. The Rams got what they deserved. I just don't understand why coaches handle the clock the way that they handle it at the end of the game. Unless it's down under 30 seconds, man, play football. Get the first down and win the game. And I'm not even talking about you have balls, have a big set of balls. I'm not talking about going for it inside your own 20. I'm talking about maybe letting the MVP of the league attempt to pass to who I think is the best wide receiver in football right now, Puka Nacua, or Davante Adams, who's like the most trustworthy guy who's been around and seen it all. Most trustworthy, unless his task is to catch a touchdown in the NFC Championship game at home. Well, then it's going to bounce off his hands. But other than that, he can execute everything. I just don't get it. Sean McVay is supposed to be so smart. These guys are supposed to be so smart. And it's the offensive guys who are like, actually, we don't want to play offense. We just want to play the clock. I'm clock guy now. Sean McVay, clock guy. Nice to meet you. I get it when it's Vrabel or when it's Tomlin or when defense run the ball guys should play the clock. I don't understand why Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur play the clock. It doesn't make any sense to me. Whenever the league catches up, we will be all better off for it. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, hey, I'm wondering, is it because that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Matt LaFleur, they were all on the coaching staff that lost to Tom Brady 28-3, right?
So this is what, Louis, you must have joined. We had a caller bring this up last segment. You think that experience could shell shock that, like every coach on the staff? You just think it nuked them all? I like this theory. I'd never thought about it before.
Because I thought that somebody had played all of this back, and if Matt LaFleur, if Kyle Shanahan had ran the ball one time, or if there was one pass that wasn't thrown, it was like that game he never could have came back.
Yeah.
So it was all about one run play was the difference between winning and losing that game. Now I could be wrong. That was 10 years ago or whatever, but that's my theory.
So, and I think it's very interesting, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. There's a difference between 28-3 and 17-10. And the Bears have come back on everybody they've played, and you're in their building, and you're backed up against your end zone. So you're not going to come out smelling like roses in a field position battle here. The best you can probably hope for is to pin them back at their own 45 or 30. And you're hopeful for that. A good punt in the elements against a Bears team that has a good proclivity for making special teams plays. There's a difference between play calling up 28-3 and play calling up 17-10, and your quarterback is Matthew Stafford, and you have Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. I don't get it. I love the theory of these guys all still experiencing aftershock from 2016. However, I would also say if a coach can't bounce back from that, then I don't know, man. You just might be damaged goods. You need to have a shorter memory than that. So I guess that would be my other response to that. I want to get to Matt Schneidman's reporting, an interesting nugget about the thought process of Ed Policy bringing back Matt LaFleur. So we'll do that after this break. The Monday Mailbag at 5:50. So submit your questions, grantbills21gmail.com. One more call before we go to break. Let's go Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy. What's up?
Hey, not too much. I just wanted to chime in as well. It's especially West Coast offense guys, right? Did they not see it? A lot. If this was the 70s and 80s, okay, I could see being conservative on the defensive side of things when you've got a lead, right?
Okay.
But now with everybody throwing, when you have these quarterbacks, 2 minutes in a game is an eternity. It's an eternity. We've seen Tom Brady do it how many times? 30 seconds on the clock. Oh, he needs a touchdown. He's not even sweating.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes, not even sweating. So I just don't get it either, and these guys are good at doing that on the offensive side of the ball. Bill Belichick, how many times where he would run up the score, and everybody always running up the score. No, I'm trying to win a football game. So excuse me if I'm not trying to do you a favor.
Yeah.
By helping you.
Yeah. And it's not even about, Jeremy, I'm just up against it. So we'll talk later this week, I'm sure. Thanks for the call. It's not even a matter of running up the score. You gotta put the heel of your boot on their neck and you gotta smash it down. And I'm not talking about LaFleur or McVay needing to be an alpha. You gotta have big balls, go for it in your own territory. That's not what we're talking about last night. There's 2.5 minutes left, and McVay's operating like there's 27 seconds left. And I don't understand how these very smart head coaches, and I'll wrap it up here, can look at the clock and see 3 minutes and think, oh, you just got to run a play or two, and then there won't be any time left. Sean, 2 minutes is so much time. Caleb Williams, that's 3 throws for him. So whenever these coaches and their brains catch up to reality, when they can quite literally understand time, they will be better off for it. And it was one play. Don't run a draw on 3rd and 10. Maybe let Matthew Stafford throw it over the middle. And if it's incomplete, you're not even penalized because it's going to get to the 2-minute warning anyways. Just really, really poor. And I watch these guys, LaFleur, Shanahan, McVay, and I don't know what it is with them. Okay, we're going to take a break. Come back right after this.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
All right, Wisco Sports Show. We continue the Monday Mailbag. We'll do that in about 10 minutes here. So submit your questions. GrantBills21@gmail.com. All topics for your consideration. And you can ask a Packers question, but as always, I say this in the past. I say this every week. Like, that's what the rest of the show is for. So if you're like, hi, Grant, question for the Mailbag. Who do you think the Packers will hire for DC? We're talking about that now. That's the rest of the show. The Mailbag segment is the F-off segment. By the way, Jeff Hafley, if you've joined us since we talked about this about a half hour ago, but he will be the next head coach of the Dolphins. I am not concerned that they will be able to replace him. Maybe Raheem Morris or whoever they hire might not give as good at press conferences. And I guess the radio producer in me, that stinks. But the Packers fan and owner in me, they can find someone to come in and do what Jeff Hafley was doing. He wasn't exactly reinventing the wheel on defense. I think maybe get some good run as head coach. Leader of men, good press conference, good speaker. Guys play for him. I mean, again, they didn't against Baltimore, but whatever. Details. I want to give you a detail that Matt Schneidman reported. He shared this in a story. The headline here is, according to a league source, it would have taken something, quote, very significant happening this season for the Packers' first-year president, Ed Policy, to not offer Matt LaFleur an extension. And I just want to pick at this for 5 minutes here, and I'll give you a little bit of the story. More intel on how and why Policy extended the head coach. So again, this is Matt Schneidman. I'm just going to give you a little. Please go subscribe, read. This was the scoop or the sourced thing. According to a league source, the Packers' playoff loss to the Bears had almost no bearing on Policy's decision. Policy has worked with LaFleur for 7 years, from serving on his hiring panel to onboarding him to attending every game he's coached since 2019. Green Bay's 2 dismal quarters in Chicago last Saturday were simply 2 data points among hundreds that Policy used to reach that decision to extend LaFleur. Policy views LaFleur as proficient in player and team development, notably so at quarterback, where the Packers have been one of the NFL's best. Policy told reporters last summer he wasn't extending, blah, 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 blah. According to a league source, Policy felt very good about LaFleur and Gutekunst staying in Green Bay long-term last summer, but wanted to remain open-minded until he had to make a decision after the 2025 season. The source said it was possible Policy could have changed his mind on the futures of LaFleur and Gutekunst over the course of the season, but that it would have taken something very significant to do so. In the week since the Packers season ended, Policy didn't spend much time considering whether to offer LaFleur an extension. His mind had already appeared to be made up, and instead worked with LaFleur, Gutekunst, and Russ Ball individually and collectively to ensure everyone was aligned and want to be in Green Bay. So here's, I don't want to say here's what I don't get. If that's how Policy felt, and he felt very good about extending both before the year, honestly, I just would have done it before the year. And Mike Clemens brought this up a couple of weeks ago when he basically asked, he was on with Bill, he said, if Ed Policy knew what he knew, if Ed Policy knew what he knows now, would he ever have made a comment about, well, I don't like lame duck head coaches, not going to extend him? Would he ever done that? Because essentially what he did was he hot seated both his head coach and GM and turned it into a talking point. And if he was never really going to move on unless something catastrophic happened or significant happened, then why didn't you just do it before the season? And also, on the idea that it would have taken something significant to make a change, they won 9 games after starting 2-0. And they had fourth quarter leads in almost all of them, except for the one they didn't, the Ravens, which they just no-showed at home. And one was a playoff game. Well, two were to your arch rival, the Bears, and the second was a playoff game. So I think last week or the week before on Bill's show and on this show, I said, give me your grade. What grade would you give this Packers season? Because in my opinion, like I'd give them a D. Because the way I see it, in my perspective, it would have been pretty hard for the Packers to do any worse than they did this year. And I'm factoring in the injuries. I'm not an idiot about some things. I know they didn't have Micah Parsons, and then I know they lost Devontae Wyatt. I know they lost Tucker Kraft. I know. That's not why they lost to the Browns. It's not why they lost to the Panthers. I don't think it's why they lost to the Eagles. It's not why they lost to the Bears. God knows why they lost to the Ravens. They no-showed. And it's not why they lost to the Bears in the playoffs. They had leads in all of those games. You can't look at me and say, well, they had a 21-3 lead, but their personnel wasn't good enough to hold it. Man, I give this season a D. And again, short of every good player getting hurt, including your quarterback, I'm not sure how this season was supposed to go any worse. They won 9 games. They won the same amount of games that the Vikings did. And they had a me playing quarterback. Not me, but like I was thinking of like, do you have a Nintendo Wii? Like the little people without hand? Like that's who they had. They had trash at quarterback. And they won the same amount of games as you did. So again, I don't think Ed Policy was ever serious about ever moving on. Because if he was, he would have had to consider it after this year, the way that it went. They won 9 games after starting 2-0. And Jordan Love had an amazing year and played great in the playoff game. And they won 9. Have I mentioned they won 9 games and blew fourth quarter leads in all of them? So when I hear this, it's like, well, it would have taken something really bad for Ed Policy to consider making a move. And I'm like, well, then I would love to know what his definition of really bad is. Maybe this year was just pretty bad. Winning 9 games with that roster, the way that they lost those games, because they had leads in just about all of them. Bad, in my opinion. Significant, in my opinion. Clearly not to Ed Policy. We'll pop open the Monday mailbag next, so submit your questions. GrantBills21@gmail.com.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
4 years. That's enough time to earn a college degree, to serve a full term as a president, to train for something big and become someone new.
You bet, and get 0% interest for 4 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, so you can invest in your home and in life's biggest moments. With exclusive features and customizations, Pella offers the highest quality products at a price you can afford.
Aim high when setting your New Year's resolution and imagine what you can do in 4 years when you finance your home project with Pella. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Because the mail never stops.
Charles, we'll be writing to you. She's got mail. That's the name of the book.
That's it, honey. There's never a let up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. And you got to get it up. And the more you get out, the more it keeps coming in.
The Monday Mailbag. All questions and topics for my consideration from you. There's still time to get one in. There's 6 minutes left in the show. GrantBills21@gmail.com. We'll start with one from Thomas. I believe his moniker on the morning show is Hot Take Thomas. Says, hello, Grant. I'm not making any of these up. There's a couple in here I perused over the break. There's a couple in here that you're going to be like, that's not real. Trust me. They are real. This one's from Thomas. Says, I'm going to Ireland over spring break with my parents and looking forward to visiting and being embraced in the Irish culture. You might mean immersed, but yeah. Any recommendations for spots to try out? We'll definitely be trying Guinness beer. Thanks, Thomas in La Crosse. Thomas. So first of all, this sounds like a baller trip. I'm jealous. I've never been to Europe, dude. I've never been close to Ireland. Why am I? First of all, I appreciate you thinking that I'm an authority on anything. I don't know. Guinness is good. I'm noticing that Guinness they're in a very good position as a beer right now because it's very popular to split the G. You heard of this? Let's split some G's. And you drink Guinness and you try to drink it right so it splits the font. They're in a great spot. Guinness is in a spot like Bird Box was when that came out. Remember, everyone tweets the picture. Like, Guinness is great. I don't know that more people like Guinness now than at any point in my lifetime, but more people are drinking Guinness because everyone wants to split the G. Hey, you want to head down to the pub, split some G's? Yeah, hell yeah. So let's get Guinnesses instead of Miller Lights, which is normally what I do. Whatever. So yes, definitely drink Guinness, Thomas. I've never been to Ireland. I don't know. I would like to go through rolling green hills and stop in taverns. Some place that I've been looking at, again, I've never been to Europe. I've been to Iceland, but I've never been to Europe. Some place that I would really like to go. I'd like to go to the UK. I'd like to go to England or Britain or whatever, square, rectangle, etc. I would like to go to Northumberland. Looks very pretty. Plus, Mark Knopfler has a song. He sings about it. And I'm like, I thought it was Northumberland, but it's one word. Beautiful. Castles, rolling hills, green expanses, my kind of thing. If you can find something like that in Ireland, Thomas, go nuts. I'm not an authority. Thank you for asking. Tyler says, hi, Grant. What is a totally harmless opinion that makes people weirdly angry? I don't know that I can answer this on the nose. But something that annoys me are when people cock off about not liking foods. Like people who don't like Bloody Marys. Where do you get off? Not everybody likes everything. But people who don't like Bloody Marys, like they'll tell you they don't like Bloody Marys. It's like, okay, well, bloody, I couldn't do that. Okay, well, keep it to yourself. I'm going to have one. Thank you. I was at a bar, this was months ago, back by my hometown. I was sitting next to some nice ladies. I was there with my father, and I got a basket of fried mushrooms. And this girl next to me goes, "Ooh, what'd you order?" And we had not chatted at all. And she goes, "What'd you order?" I go, just some fried mushrooms." She goes, "Oh, gross. How would I push you off your bar stool? Gross. I'm going to eat them. Leave me alone, please." I don't like when people behave that way about foods. It's not really a direct answer to your question, but it's the best thing I can come up with, Tyler. Matt in Cross Plains says, hi, Grant, what is your favorite fish to prepare to eat? You asked then a question about the Brewers. I'm going to do the fish thing first. I never really keep fish, although I went ice fishing yesterday in a lake that has trout, and they're stocked. So, yeah, I'm going to keep one or two because I would have made it in the oven for dinner last night. And, of course, because I brought a big Ziploc bag, I didn't catch anything. Not through lack of effort. I was out there for like 5 hours yesterday. Watched a football game in my ice shack all by myself. Had a great time. Best 5 hours I've had in months. Trout, though. Trout or salmon. Delicious, pink, fleshy, a lot of flavor. And you don't need to deep fry it for it to be good. In fact, it's better when it's not deep fried. You also said, are you going to Gregapalooza? I'm not sure. The jury's out on that. I would bet against it. That seems like a task. And when I say, by the way, one more question here. When I say, Grant, you made up that question, I promise I'm not. Rob in Stoddard says, hi, Grant. If you had to pick your top 5 small towns in Vernon County, which ones would you pick? Yes, of course. This is something I think about all the time. They must be no larger than a population of 1,000 people in order to count. Well, I'm not Googling populations, but I can try to stick to those parameters. So Westby won't count, but I will take Coon Valley, which is probably slightly less than 1,000. I don't know. Coon Valley with a bullet. Sophia. That's not are we talking towns or villages? Who cares? I can do what I want. Coon Valley, Sophia, Liberty Pole as a bit. Let's see what else would be on the table. Chaseburg. I'm coming around to Chaseburg. I've fished a little bit more over by Chaseburg. It's pretty over there on the other side of 14. What did I say? Chaseburg, Liberty Pole, Coon Valley, Sophia. Aren't you from DeSoto, Rob? I'll throw you a bone and say DeSoto. Is that what you wanted to hear? Is that what's behind it? And Goose Eggs on live stream says Westby. I can't go Westby. It's too big. Chaseburg is nice. I agree. Coming around on Chaseburg. Tomorrow, we will talk more about what the Packers are going to do at defensive coordinator. I would expect at some point this week, Goody will give a presser, so we'll react to that. And also, Packers fans, I'm with you. Ed Policy should answer questions to the media. They're not going back to the old structure. They're not turning football control over to Brian Gutekunst. This is Ed Policy's decision. He should have to speak about it. So I'm with you. Hopefully we get that this week. I would bet against it. Mark Ross on with Bill Michaels tomorrow. Jim Ozarski as well to talk Bucks. So that's what's coming up tomorrow. Have an excellent night. Enjoy the national championship game. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. Have a great night.